Hi, and welcome to my brand new series on Amazon FBA reselling for beginners crash course. So I've gotten so many requests over the past couple of months to create a more structured like style, like a course like, so that people who are new to my channel can easily follow through and just get, maybe perhaps you haven't started yet and you wanted to start to become an Amazon seller. So I'm going to be walking you through step by step, A to Z on how to get started. And I should mention that every content that I'm going to be releasing is entirely free. I'm not charging you a single penny for it. So if you like the content, please do subscribe and hit the thumbs up for your YouTube algorithm. Also, I should also mention that because you're going to be probably investing a lot of money, so none of these are financial advice and it is for only educational purposes only. With that out of the way, let's get started. So I'm going to walk you through basically, what you need to do to get started, like opening an account, selling on Amazon, the supplies you need, the sourcing tools, and the sourcing method that I'm currently using, as well as how to basically pack all the packaging, ship it off to Amazon, and enjoy making profits and revenue, and perhaps turning the site hustling into a full-time business like what I'm doing. So to get started, in case you might be curious of who I am, so I used to be an office worker working, those typical 9 to 5, or in my case would be 8:30 to 4:30 job. And that's pretty much all I've known for pretty much like in between times that I graduated up until the 2020, which is probably one of the most difficult years, if not is the most difficult year for most people, because I was also affected by COVID and my department has to close down, which is why I have to basically look for an alternative way to make a side income. So at the time, I decided to open my Amazon account, seller account. And I'm actually not a new seller to Amazon, because back in 2017, I used to do private labeling, which is selling a baby blanket products. So it didn't turn out too well because I was a college student and I didn't have a lot of capital to start. But now that I saved up a little bit, which is not even that much, back in 2020, I decided to just take on a new side hustles. And that's pretty much why I got to, researching a lot of learning how to sell on Amazon. And I guess the reason why I, decide to start selling on Amazon is just simply because I'm looking for alternative ways of making income, as well as looking for ways to free up my time. And I went over in my previous videos about like the books of that inspired me to start my entrepreneurship journey, because if you look at all those famous and rich entrepreneurs, none of them are actually an office worker working typical standard job. They all make their investments, they're taking on a lot of risk in order to become who they are today. Just look at, I don't know, Steve Jobs, for instance. Like, he started in his garage and, before he passed away, he basically grew Apple into a mega corporation that you could possibly ever imagine from a tiny garage. Now, one of the things I do want to mention that's very, very important is to shift your mindset from doing a typical, 7-8 hours or maybe more or maybe less office job to being an entrepreneur, because you're not going to have a steady income like you did in the past. And that's very, very important here, because you could be like me, you could be working for hours in the beginning and you will get no result, nothing back. Hopefully you do, but it took me a while to figure out what sells well, what doesn't. Still taking me a long time today. I'm just being honest with you, and I'm not a millionaire, like 7-figure Amazon seller or anything. I just want to share to you how I started this journey from basically having like a few $1,000s in my bank account, which is supposed to be my rainy money in case I lose my job, to just basically using all those like savings to invest into this business, trying to grow it from ground up. That's basically where I came from. And what I mean by shifting your mindset is simply because you're not spending your time in order to make money. You're spending money to make even more money now. It's kind of like an investment in a way where you're using your money. Like money you have to shift your mindset where money is now your employee and every dollar really counts, because if you could save even $20 into buying certain products, not only will you make more profit in purchasing the product and then reselling online, or just purchasing somewhere else and selling online, you can also use those $20 into reinvesting to different sourcing tools that could make you more money. And perhaps I haven't hired a VA myself, but I'm considering to VA's virtual assistant to basically expand your business further. And maybe you can, like what I started doing recently is to outsource my packing, which really helped me to free up a lot of time and focusing on other things. So your currency to make more money has now become money, because you're essentially trying to free up more time and spend your employee, which is the money. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. Now, you might be curious, what exactly do people mean by Amazon FBA, or fulfillment by Amazon? So it's simply where in the traditional method of e-commerce is where you would have to fulfill all the shipments yourself. So if you ever sold anything on eBay, I don't know, even maybe Craigslist on Facebook Marketplace in certain places, where now they allow shipping. And when someone placed an order of the stuff, you would essentially take that address, take their order contact information, put it in, fulfill the shipments yourself, and then go to the post office to deliver the product, and then they'll send the product over to the customers, and then you get paid. So fulfillment by Amazon is simply shipping all those inventories that you have at home. Like you can see in the back here, I have 2 more boxes that's going out, and that's probably going to be my last few boxes for this year that's going out. And all these products are going to go to the Amazon warehouse. They're going to, I don't know, do all those logistics and manage it for you. And when your customers place an order, you'll get paid after the order goes through, the payment goes through, and then it gets fulfilled to the customers. So why would you ever do that? It's because you have a lot less work to do, and you are actually paying a lot more for using the FBA program compared to probably fulfilling yourself, although I'll get back to that in a minute. It's actually a lot better because really, like, you're freeing a lot more time, and you can potentially, like I said, make more profits when you have more time to look for different products to keep expanding on and on. And you don't have to deal with customers. Customers are like a nightmare. Like, I've even using the FBA program, I've dealt with some of those feedbacks or like some customer complaining about the stuff. Man, it's so tedious. Like, customers drives me crazy. But anyways, I guess that's the big pros behind of using the Amazon FBAs, because the customer support will deal with all those logistics, the shipping for you, as well as any customer complaint that they may have, or the returns. You just keep feeding Amazon with all the products that you're sourcing, and then you just keep sending it off to them. Okay, now that you understand what fulfillment by Amazon FBA is, because this term is so vaguely used, and whenever you look up YouTube videos, you're gonna find a lot of information on like you can even call Amazon drop shipping like as Amazon FBA, because it's, I don't know, like they just call it so many different things. But I wouldn't recommend doing drop shipping because that's against terms of service of using Amazon. Wouldn't recommend it out of the gate. And here are some of the different types of business models that exist selling on Amazon. So it really goes into 2 different main categories here. One is to create your own listing, which means that the product may exist on Amazon, but you may not have a matching UPC barcode, or you're buying in bulk from, let's say, like from a Chinese supplier, for instance. And that's very typical for if you want to do wholesaling from overseas, like from China, or if you want to private label, which is to basically create your own brand. And the biggest pros of that is you're probably going to make the most profit margin. I'm just speaking in a broad term here, okay? So you're probably going to make the most profit margins because I remember when I used to sell baby blankets, it was upward of like 60%. But that's not taking into after deduction of, you know, your advertisement and all those logistics to ship from overseas and everything. And the product costs, and, you know, like all those little things will probably reduce the margin a little bit lower. So I personally, I'm not gonna teach you to do that because I think a better way to sell on Amazon is to sell things that are already exist on Amazon. Like they already have a listing. You can see the sales rank of how well the product is selling, and I'll be going over that in my later videos on the sourcing itself. And why you want to know all these sales rank is because you can gauge of how much a unit is being sold per month, per year, I don't know, whatever, depending on the data you look at in the time frame. And then you can determine how much to buy, and then you know how soon it will sell out. Assuming that obviously we have a lot of factors to assume. We're assuming that the number of sellers stays the same, the price stays consistent, and you'll be making this much. But the second business model, which I guess I'm already mentioning, is to resell existing listings. And that goes into 3 different categories. And I'm going to be going over the first 2 the most because I think that's the most easiest to get started selling on Amazon, which is retail and online arbitrage. So this is where you're buying from either different different retail stores and then resell them on Amazon. So how it works is you could be selling seasonal products. So for instance, you could be selling costumes for Halloween, where you see that there's an opportunity during the time that, you know, in particular season that would sell well. Or you could be just reselling any like clearance product would be really good ones, because just give you an example. I sold this like kids toys that are on clearance at Walmart for $20, and it was selling on Amazon for like $64, and the original retail price could have been like $79, and you're catching that profit, like the differences. I guess that's really like the concept of arbitrage. Like if you have ever done investment, that's the same thing. You might buy from one exchange and then you sell in another. That's pretty much the entire concept of reselling. And the last business model under the reselling is the wholesale, which I actually prefer probably the most. I've been an advocate of doing wholesale because and I'll be going over this in my later videos as well, because certain products, especially in the beauty category, you get hit with a lot of like intellectual property rights and like all those like little things that they're claiming, like if the product is not legit and all that stuff. But when you buy from a wholesale, from a distributor or well-known brands, you at least have a guarantee that you can submit an invoice and show them that this product is genuine. This product is not, you know, purchased from China pretending to be Nike or something like that. I don't know. I'm just making a random example up. But in this entire series, I'm going to be going over only the sides of the reselling because I think personally it's safer, but you're likely to make less profit margins than creating your own listing, because when you start your own brand, you'll definitely make more margins out of that in generally speaking. And let's go over some of the requirements of opening an Amazon account. So obviously, in order to open an Amazon seller account, you're going to need, I recommend a business email, something that is professional. Although I did start everything that I'm about to tell you here based on having individual accounts. I used my own email and then I later changed it to my business email. I used my personal credit card, which I don't recommend you to do. I recommend you to actually separate everything from the beginning, because it makes, like, when you sign up for QuickBooks or any accounting software or even working with an accountant, it makes it like 100 times easier. And you know, when you're opening equities balance or whatever, it's like starting from zero, because I had to go through all the complications and it wasn't really fun. And business account, you'll probably be able to find the free ones. I'm located in Canada and I'm using my BMO e-business account, which is designed for only e-commerce sellers, and you can't visit the branch, but they don't charge you anything. And you can also use like other digital account from other banks, and they'll probably charge you like $4 to $5. Like it's pretty fairly cheap to get started. And obviously you want to have a government ID and like all those jazz. And the second thing you want to do, which I highly recommend as well, is to register your business right away. Like go to your provincial or your states, or I don't know, wherever you do in your local areas, and register your business. Have a business name, have have an infrastructure in place. Although you don't need to, like, you can do this later, but I think it's easier to do it from the beginning so that you have the infrastructure in place. Oh, I did mention earlier, to separate everything, personal and business account makes it 10 times, 100 times easier. And the last thing I want to mention, which is kind of optional, but it's not it's optional, but it's recommended, is to register your tax information right away. So like I said, I'm located in Canada and I'm currently only selling in Amazon.ca. And I didn't register my GST from, GST is a sales tax system here, from the beginning. So what happened is, you don't have to register in case if you're living in Canada, you don't have to register from the very beginning. You can make sales up to a certain point. I think for GST it was like 30,000 Canadian dollars. You don't have to do it from the beginning, like I said, but whenever you make purchases from retail stores, you are paying sales tax. So you can claim those amount back. And in addition to that, whenever your customers buy it from you, you'll be collecting sales tax from them. So you can actually offset those sales tax that you gain from your customers to the ones that you pay out. So by the end of the year, you can remit your sales tax and take the differences. I don't know how much you have to remit back, but at least you can use those money to basically reinvest into your profit. Because if you don't have, if you can't get back your sales tax, you're basically just going to pay them for free. That's from my, I guess, understanding. And if you're in the States, it can get a little easier because certain places accept the resale tax certificate. So you're not going to be charged for sales tax, and Amazon will remit sales tax for you anyway. So yeah, it depends on where you are. You can get away with not having register your tax information, like the GST, HST here right away, or provincial tax. There's a lot of different tax systems. I'm not like an expert on this topic by all means, and I'm only familiar with selling in Canada, and I know a little bit on selling in the States because I've been doing a lot of research myself. And for everywhere else, it's like Amazon.uk is like a foreign language to me. So I don't know anything about that because that's not the topic I'm familiar with. Although I was told that if I were to sell an overseas living in Canada, I should be creating a limited company and then register for that right away so that you will start collecting that. But please do your own research. Like I said, that's very important for you to know, and you want to set up for success from the very beginning. Now, the last thing I want to mention in this video is how much money do you need to get started selling on Amazon. Personally, in my earlier videos of starting my Amazon journey, I recommended only $500 for reselling. But now that I've gone through everything, I wouldn't say everything because I'm still learning, and I'm still learning the different techniques and different sourcing and different, a lot of things. But now I would recommend you to have at least $1,000 to start, because you're going to be making subscription on sourcing software, and I would recommend you to do that from the start, and I'll explain in the later videos why. Because obviously you're going to make better buying decisions and it will save you way much more in the long run. I recommend $1,000 to start for reselling. And if you're doing private labeling, if you're doing wholesales from overseas suppliers, I would recommend you to start at least $5,000. And you would allocate at least probably upwards of $2,000 to basically just to ship the product from overseas. And then maybe you have to pay the border brokerage fees and all this stuff, and then you still have to use a large portion of that to advertise so that you get your product listing onto your very first page, like everybody else who's making the first few pages are 90% of the sales. So that's where you want to end up with your products. And again, I'm not an expert in private labeling. I'm going to be teaching you on how to resell based on existing listing, like I said. And I do understand that could be a lot of money. And if you don't have a lot of money, or even if you have just under $500, I would recommend you to start selling used books. And I'll link a video somewhere, maybe up above or in the description, that in the later videos that I created about selling used books, because you can make massive profit with this. Like I've shown in the earlier videos, like of the screenshot of buying a $6 books and then reselling for $100. And of course, it's not consistent, and like there's no consistency, and you're spending a lot of time to find those hidden gems. But really, like if you don't have a lot of money and you have a lot of time, used books are your way to go, I guess. Anyways, I'm gonna be going over in the next part of this series, like using different sourcing tools, and then we're gonna be going over like the packaging and the office supplies that you'll need to get started. Like I'm gonna going over all the essentials first, and then I'll be giving you a recommendation based on having experience of selling in Amazon over a year now. And then in the next part after that, I'll be going over the sourcing method and so on. Anyways, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next part of this mini crash course series. Thanks for watching.